China's Communist Party Congress is underway, and the week-long meeting is poised to cement Xi Jinping's hold on power. He's due to be reconfirmed as party leader for an unprecedented third term. At a meeting with regional officials on Monday, Xi called on people to embrace party ideology with one mind, which could be interpreted as another way of saying that no opposition will be tolerated. That, of course, includes his zero COVID policy, which has triggered economic fallout and sparked rare protests after more than 2 years of strict lockdowns. In his eagerly awaited address to the opening session, President Xi made it clear that he intends to continue a strongly nationalist course going forward.
From this day forward, the central task of the Communist Party Congress will be to lead the Chinese people of all ethnic groups in an effort to realize the goals of building China into a great modern socialist country in all respects, and to advance the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation on all fronts.
I'm now joined by Lizzie Li. She's a journalist with Wall Street TV and the host of Live with Lizzie Li, powered by the China Project in New York. Ms. Li, welcome to the day. Xi Jinping is set to become the most powerful leader in China since Mao Zedong. What does that mean for the country?
You are absolutely right. Xi Jinping is on the edge of assuming his third 5-year term in the center of the Communist Party, which means he will likely ensure that his vision for the country will guide China for many years to come, 5 years at least, perhaps a decade. Xi Jinping will continue to bolster China's military prowess. Xi Jinping will steer China's economy further away from the market track to a more state-led approach, and Xi Jinping will likely commit the Communist Party to a more ideologically driven route. Economically, I think that means Xi Jinping is going to focus a lot more on domestic technology and innovation, devote more resources to high tech, which will potentially be important in China's competition with the United States. Xi Jinping also made it clear that his goal is to restore China to its rightful historical place, which means we will probably see more assertiveness on the international stage, especially when it comes to confrontation with the West.
He spoke about high winds, choppy waters, and dangerous storms ahead. What will be the biggest challenges he'll have to face?
The gravest challenge Xi Jinping is likely to face is China's economy, which is not in a very great shape now. China's GDP growth has stalled or considerably slowed down. China's unemployment is high, and China's property market is in this slump. Also, COVID lockdowns have caused many public dissatisfactions. And I think another potential challenge is succession. There's a lot of uncertainty over when or if Xi Jinping might eventually retire, or is he actually going to be leader for life? And I think any uncertainty over successor can potentially sow instability or even lead to a succession strife further down the road.
Are there any likely successors that we might see popping up this week?
Not this time. I don't see any reason for Xi Jinping to make himself a lame duck this time around. If there's any successor in his mind, probably next round we will see more clear signals.
What can he do to turn the economy around?
So that's a great question. I want to make clear that China's economic woes is a combination or mixture of structural slowdown and Xi Jinping's own policy missteps in the past few years. Concretely, some sort of phasing out from draconian zero COVID restrictions is a must. That might take some time, but ultimately it's going to happen. Other things are more complicated. For example, some of Xi Jinping's policy initiatives are correct, at least in direction. China's reduction of debt from its financial system, redistribution of wealth, reining in of property market speculations, poverty reduction, property market cleanup, are all meritable in spirit. But the problem is the scale of those regulatory storms have been too big, and China has relied too much on its state sector at the expense of private ones. So some kind of course correction, some kind of returning to opening up and reform is called for.
But we can't really expect him to change course drastically from here on out, can we? What does the rest of the party think about that? Do they, as he demands, think in one mind, or is there opposition?
So, as you know, rumors of infighting and power struggles are a fixture of Chinese elite politics, especially in the lead up to important events like the 20th Party Congress. But I think in the past decade, what Xi Jinping has successfully done is to clean up the party infrastructure. Under Xi Jinping, people who are loyal to him are more likely to be promoted, and this time around, it's no exception. That means voice of dissent has considerably quieted down during the past few years. The power of party factions and elders have also been significantly weakened through Xi Jinping's anti-corruption campaign. So there are people who might not be satisfied with Xi Jinping's approach, but I don't see them forming meaningful coalition to pose a meaningful challenge to Xi Jinping's rule.
Xi Jinping has used the Taiwan issue many times to strengthen his position, and his remarks on reunification with the island actually prompted the most euphoric response on Sunday. Is that something he will actively pursue in his third term?
That's a great question. There's actually not much new information on Taiwan coming out of the National Congress speech made by Xi Jinping this past weekend. Xi Jinping repeats that Beijing will resort to peaceful means if possible, but he will not promise to renounce the use of force. And Xi Jinping also emphasizes that complete reunification of China, our motherland, is a must, and it will be realized. I don't think Xi Jinping has any concrete timeline or deadline for reunification. But there are two scenarios that are likely dangerous in terms of Taiwan. First, if Taiwan declare independence, that's going to be a trigger point for Beijing. And also, if the United States deploys troops in Taiwan's defense, that's also going to be a really triggering point for Beijing. Or if Beijing believes the United States will deploy troops in Taiwan. Those are the dangerous scenarios that I can imagine, but there's no concrete timeline as far as I can tell.
Excellent analysis. Lizzie Lee of the China Project in New York. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me.